Hello there, tarot lovers, and happy full moon to you all. We've got a 3-card reading to look at, which is going to be quite interesting, hopefully. And it's all centered around this wonderful, beautiful, divine feminine figure of the Empress, who sits there surrounded by, or at least supported by, these 2 cards here, which is the Ten of Wands and the reverse Queen of Cups. So 2 strong feminine figures here, one reversed and one very much in her element. And the Empress sits there with several powerful messages, hopefully for us in our lives, in as far as how we can relate to these messages in the experiences that we're having. So the Empress speaks about this nature we have of being in the moment. She represents this Earth Mother Goddess who is pregnant with all of life inside of her, who allows life and manifestation and creativity to go crazy and express itself in the most abundant of ways. And she represents the acceptance of all of life. So she is all embracing, and that's why there's a strong mother energy inside of her. She's all there's a quality of the Empress which speaks very much about heart, about love, about acceptance, and about being centered in a perception of love and beauty. Now, what this translates as in our lives is a message that says, hey, how can we accept what's going on? How can we accept what's in our faces? And how can we not just accept it, but welcome it and appreciate it and see the beauty in what's going on in our lives? That's really easy when things are going great, when things are going wonderfully, and when our life is really, just swimming along here, and everything is going according to plan, and we're living a dream in many ways. It's very easy to sit back and appreciate life like the Empress will be. But if we're diving into our deep spiritual work, if we're trying to hold down the fire on this earth that seems to repel this fire, they seem to have opposite magnetic attractions, and they're just pushing each other away. When our work is to bring light down on earth, or just shed some light to the darkness inside of our own selves, or turn the darker experiences we've had into beautiful opportunities of growth, when we're dedicated to walk our walk and find purpose and meaning and learn to be more honest and loving in our lives, then we're going to bump into some challenges. We're going to, if this is what that Empress inside of us is saying yes to, if we are welcoming an abundance of experiences which are aligned with our healing and aligned with, just us waking up to more of who we are, then there's no way that it's not going to be full of some type of challenges that will maybe highlight the inner self, because this queen represents the subconscious part of our emotional self. And when she's reversed, she's going to represent all of our subconscious fears, all of our inner doubts, hurt, pain, all of those subconscious stories that we're not really, we're definitely not conditioned to understand, to see, to embrace. But we're more programmed to hide from, or look away from, or ignore, or pretend aren't there and deny in some way. Because these emotions and this emotional subconscious programming that this queen represents is not comfortable to sit with. And this is why she's reversed in this way. And some of our deeper subconscious feminine emotional traumatic programming and some of those reaction-based emotions coming up, bringing up triggers, bringing up doubts and fears that we have in our life are 100% going to be part of our growth, part of us walking our walk, part of us bringing that fire down to earth. Because when we bring that fire down to our lives, it wants to burn away anything dead. It wants to create transformation to anything that's old. And the fire is constantly looking for creative burning out of something old and creating, in the rebirth of the phoenix, something beautifully new. The Empress energy is saying, I welcome that. That feminine part of us that just allows life to be exactly as it is and chooses to react with acceptance, with appreciation, and with a perception or a vision of beauty. That's a challenge when life is bringing up something painful, when we're triggered in a fearful way. And part of this reading, I think, is about maybe just being with those darker feelings that come up, sitting with them, allowing them, saying yes to them, acknowledging them, and acknowledging how important and how beautiful, and recognizing the deeper meaning of their message, recognizing what they've come to teach us and show us, and how our more fearful emotions are there to highlight our blockages, highlight our obstructive thoughts and belief systems. Our hurtful feelings are to help us acknowledge the pain from the past so that it can be let go of. Acknowledging a pain that we're holding on to so that we can realize, oh, I can choose differently. I can choose to let go. I can choose to not judge something as being bad and wrong and make it something beautiful and loving. The Empress doesn't do much. She's sitting there just being in awe of life. And as I said, being in awe of life is easy when life is, is obviously beautiful. But making the darker emotional experiences beautiful through sheer witnessing, through sheer allowing and saying yes to it, is part of the Empress's gift. She doesn't fear death. She doesn't represent death, but she doesn't fear it. She sees how birth comes from it, and so she welcomes it all. She welcomes it so much so that to the point where her welcoming, acknowledging energy is the birth of something new. And it's the birth of saying yes to the experiences which we are required to walk through in order to find true meaning in our lives and really find that sense of purpose. We're all really looking for some sense of purpose and worth in life, and that includes, or that must include, all the ways that we are, it must include seeing and observing and witnessing all the ways that we're holding back from being authentically ourselves, which means everything that's even a little bit of a lie, everything that's not completely 100% honest, anything that's not tuned into your heart, anything that is coming from your head and going, yes, I don't like this, I don't want this, this is not good, but not really honest, needs to be seen, needs to be felt. We need to see how we're sabotaging our own lives. We need to see how we're making our own suffering and making our own pain and holding on to that pain. And we need to recognize why we're doing that, and sometimes why it might serve us to do so. We need to see why we're afraid of things so that we can recognize what purpose that fear has for us. How is it helping us? How maybe is being afraid keeping us safe in some way? We need to really acknowledge all of those more hurtful, painful emotions so that we can, if we need to, let them go. So that we can let them die. Let the programs and the ideas and the beliefs behind those emotions, let them be released. Let us surrender into that. The Empress is very good at surrendering. She's very good at allowing whatever to come into her, and her energy is the transmutation of everything into beauty. So whatever she feels, she make it beautiful. Whatever emotions, whatever doubts, whatever darker experiences come into her life, she'll turn it into love. And I think she does that without effort, because she doesn't resist the experiences themselves. She's there just to witness and have them, and to be present with them. And I think there's a beautiful message in that a lot of the time we'll be running on old programs and we'll be trying to do something in order to make things work. And all we really need to do is to sit and observe and witness and be there. Be there in loving, open, compassionate ways for ourselves and for the world around us. To accept everything and everybody, however right or wrong we might judge them to be. And to recognize that we have to do that same, or direct that same compassion towards ourselves, however right or wrong we may be sometimes. So if our fears are coming up, allow them to be a valid part of our spiritual path, a valid part of how we are here to bring that fire down to earth, transform without too much effort. Shed a light on a world, on our world, without needing to work too hard at doing it, just by sitting and allowing and being in it. That's the message of the Empress, and hopefully this is a great message for you as well, this full moon. And if it is, I'd love to hear your comments, if you relate in some way, if these cards bring up some message for you that may or may not relate to what I've just said, but you read them in a different way. I'm super interested to hear what you might come up with. I was looking at these cards with a group of people just now, and a lot of people were relating to mother trauma energy with these two feminine stories, and the Queen of Cups reversed, and how that might relate to some mother stories coming up in this time in your life. And if it is so, look into it, take a dive into that and see if it's reflecting your relationship to the feminine, and how that might be, how it might be important to dive a little bit deeper into the subconscious programmings that you have about your relationship with the feminine, and see if there is something to sit with, to embrace more, to say yes to, and to acknowledge as beautiful instead of hurtful or painful. And have a grateful moon. Much love.